Hey Wolfpack, I have more dark web stories for you tonight. And I'm also doing a giveaway right now of a free sweatshirt. You get to choose between one of the two shown on the screen right now. The link will be in the description. And with that said, whether you're sitting around a campfire, on the night shift, or even laying in bed, let my voice soothe your nightmares. Just some insight about me. I'm a 19-year-old male with a decent body build from Florida. I live in a rural area where my house is surrounded by trees, and it's a long way from here to a bus stop. I usually jog on my way there and take a bus to my university, which I didn't have enough to afford housing there. I was late to class by about 5 minutes. I took my seat and started to prepare my notes and listen to the professor. I was opening a book when I hear a group of students by me talking about how there are some horrible stuff on the internet, and that he ordered some weed and LSD. I was interested in what they were saying, but not about the weed, and about how there are other stuff that cannot be found with your typical search engine. Class was just about to end, and I heard one of them saying that his buddy should download the search engine called Tor. I finally finished my classes for the day and started to head home. I'd take my usual route, jog to the bus stop, take the bus to the closest station to my house, and I'd jog the rest of the way back. I entered the house and ran to my room curious on what they were talking about. I turned on my computer and directly searched Tor browser and installed it. Before I went on it, I did some research about it, and that it's best if I install a VPN to keep my IP hidden. I also stumbled upon how that's where the deep web lies, and that it's a place no one should visit. My curiosity got the best of me and decided to proceed. I turned on the VPN and launched Tor and found some links. I went to each of them, and they were the typical drugstore, government secrets, and your average firearm dealer. But that's when I opened the next link, which led me to a blank site. There was nothing in the page until the words popped up.
If you're not familiar with this site, leave. If you were led here, please proceed.
And the buttons leave and proceed popped up on the screen. I thought to myself, what could go wrong? And curiosity once again got the best of me. I clicked on proceed and a small chat box popped up. There was a single admin and about 11 other viewers. I decided not to type and wait and watch what all this is about. And just as I looked away, a video popped up. It was a man whose arms and legs were nailed all the way through to keep him in place. There was blood pouring from the places he was nailed. I felt a bit sick and thought this was just some cleverly edited video. The man's face was completely blank. Suddenly, a door in the background opened slowly. What popped up was a man with a mask that left me speechless. It was the exact same face of a guy nailed to the chair, expressionless and blank. I felt sick and decided to leave, but the exit button was nowhere to be found. These freaks disabled my close button. Then, what I saw next in the chat made my stomach drop. Wanting to leave so soon? I thought to myself, how did he know I wanted to leave? He posted a picture of me in the chat. I immediately threatened to call the cops, and that was the worst decision of my life. He then threatened to come over to my house and kidnap me, or that he would slit my throat if I tried to resist. He then proceeded to type my full name, address, where I'm studying, and where my other family members live. The chat then told the man in the mask to show me what he would do to me if he came to my house. He started to run his knife through the helpless man's neck and began to remove body parts just like a butcher cutting up some meat. I quickly removed the power cable of the computer and took it out and destroyed the computer so he couldn't reach me. I thought to myself, how on earth was he able to find my name and where I lived if I had a VPN on? I then felt a buzz in my pocket. My phone was ringing. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and saw a blank caller ID. I immediately hung up, and what came next was gut-wrenching. He sent me a text saying, "You're next." And I thought this was just some bullshit. I kept a 9mm handgun concealed in my house just in case of a robbery. I couldn't sleep through the night, thinking that someone was watching me, ready to make their move. Luckily, I fell asleep and nothing much happened that night. I woke up, took my typical routine, and headed to university. I always lock all the doors and windows in my house, and I don't usually forget to do so. It was just a regular day. I took my courses for that day, and heard those other boys from yesterday saying the shit they did in the deep web. I went home exhausted, since I barely got enough sleep because of what happened that same night. Walking to the doorstep, I felt something was off, and just decided to shrug it off. I tried unlocking the door, but it wouldn't budge. That's when I realized the door wouldn't unlock because it was already unlocked. I shrugged it off, thinking I just forgot to lock it, since I didn't get any sleep. I walked in, then locked the door behind me. I felt like something was watching me. You know, when you can sometimes feel someone stare. Yeah, that's exactly what I felt. I go around the house looking in closets, corners, you name it. But nothing was there. I thought to myself that it was just due to the lack of sleep. I go to take a quick shower and get to bed. Once I doze off, I was awoken 6 hours later to the sound of a crack and a bump. It came from the bathroom, thinking that it could be that weirdo from the deep web. But I thought to myself, no way. I locked all the doors and windows, and if someone opened the door or window, I would have instantly woken up to it since they are loud, and I'm a light sleeper. I went to check on it, and it was written on the mirror. Large capital letters with a deep red color, and had the texture like that of blood. It said, "Look outside." I immediately looked through my window and saw a large, dark figure standing by a tree. That's when it hit me. 2 other shadowy figures pop out from the tree. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. As fast as I can whilst running down, making sure every door was locked. I look outside when I see another 4 dark figures pop up from the tree. There was a total of 7 men outside hiding within the trees. The 911 emergency operator finally picked up and obviously asked what my emergency was. This is how it went. 911, what's your emergency? Get the cops over here. There's 7 men outside my house, walking closer every second. And what is so suspicious of these men? They're holding butcher knives. Okay, what's your address? 17 Lafayette Road. I stumbled in the house, running like a maniac, remembering that I kept a 9mm. I go and grab the gun, and I hear an extremely loud bang outside my door. I go to look through the peephole, and it was just one of them. He shouted with his deep voice, "Open up." I told him that I had already called the cops, and that I was armed. That's when I lost all hope of security and safety. I heard 6 windows being smashed in, and the men jumping through making a loud thud after hopping in. I instantly thought that my best chance of survival was to run to the bathroom and lock myself in it. I heard the men slowly walking upstairs making a creaking sound after every step. That's when it all went down. I thought that if I were to go, I wouldn't go without a fight. I started screaming once more that I was armed, and if they came to the door, I would open fire. That's when relief struck me as hard as a rock. I saw the blue and red lights outside the bathroom window with their sirens blasting as loud as it could. The men instantly ran downstairs and jumped out of the window they broke in, running straight for the woods behind the house. The police saw the men running into the woods and sent a couple of officers with canines chasing the men. The rest came in the house looking for me and concerned for my safety. Luckily, I was still alive. Just a few scratches and bruises from clumsily running around the house looking for a stop to increase my chance of survival. After that, the cops offered me a place to stay in some crappy motel, just so I wouldn't have to stay in my house. Immediately after that day, I got rid of all my belongings and moved out of state. I now live in California, basically a new life, I would say. And I never had to go through what happened again. I never saw the men or anyone stalking me since I left Florida. I hope we never meet again. Let me tell you from experience that the dark web is a disgusting human cesspit. You don't know what lies in the darkest recesses of the human psyche until you go on there. I learned that the hard way. I got suckered in by the crazy stories and hype my friends gave it. I wanted to see it for myself. So last week, I downloaded Tor and started browsing. I didn't feel the need for any extra protection. Being completely new to the entire concept, in retrospect, I wish I had. I spent hours clicking link after link after link, and I was starting to get bored and a little freaked out. I found a whole host of your typical crackheads searching for drugs, sites with hitmen for hire, and a shit ton of other military-grade weaponry. At one point, I found myself scrolling through post after post of vivid descriptions of animal abuse and how the sick people who committed those atrocities get off to them every night. I wish I had closed my computer right then and there, but something kept my curiosity alight. Honestly, I think some part of me just wanted to see how screwed up the human mind truly could be. After a few more links to CP and a couple drug markets, I had had enough. This is it, I sighed to myself. One more link, and I swear I'm getting out of this hellhole. I clicked the link, going blindly into what, unbeknownst to me, would alter my already cynical views on humanity. I mean, honestly, when you hear a guy go on and on about lighting his dog on fire and watching it writhe, you tend not to think the best of people, but this was a whole new level of twisted. The first thing that caught my eye was the curly pink font that served at the title of the opening page. It read, "Peace and Love." I remember it all too clearly, as it seemed so out of place in that slum of human refuse formerly known as the dark web. I scrolled down to find an image album and a simple chat box. No one was online at the moment, so I went ahead and clicked the first set of pictures. I was not ready for what I was about to see. The very first picture was that of a young pregnant woman, bawling her eyes out. She looked scrawny and thin, with cuts and bruises marring her pale skin. She looked scared and malnourished, like she was begging for her life. I clicked on the next photo and nearly vomited. The young woman from before now sat in a chair, facing the camera, her dead, dull eyes boring into me. She was covered in blood and her abdomen had been torn open. In her cold, unfeeling arms, she held the child, still attached at the umbilical cord. Its half-formed, lifeless body was a deep crimson with blood, and one can tell it had been forcefully ripped from the womb. On the wall just behind them, written in their blood, were the words, "I gave them peace," in harsh, hasty letters. I don't know what possessed me to keep scrolling through the photos. It was as if I couldn't control my own facilities. The images only got more and more grotesque as I looked further. The following images seemed to be a time-lapse of the decomposition of the body. I watched them rot, sitting there together. I watched the face of the mother, which could have once been considered beautiful, wither and collapse in on itself as a fetid mound of flesh. By the end of the series of images, there were nothing but desiccated skeletons. I would have noped it the hell out of there, had it have not been for a message that popped up on my screen. It was from the website chat. It read exactly as follows.
Hello there. Do you like what you see? Do you want more? Do you want to attain true peace?
I didn't know how to respond. I was rooted to my chair with fear. Then the sicko spoke again.
You don't have to be scared, Zachary. I love you. I want to help you. Let me help you.
I managed to type a simple question. How in the name of hell do you know my name? Almost immediately, I got a response.
I know everything about you. You know, you shouldn't really leave your curtains open like that. You'll get a draft. You see, I just want to help you. Please, just let me save you.
My eyes flashed to the uncovered window behind me to the light of my webcam. My heart skipped a beat when I realized it was on. That sicko was watching me. I made a move to pull the plug on this sick son of a bitch, when another message popped up.
Don't try to shut me out. I'll bring you peace. I swear, Zachary Tanner. It's the only real bliss in this world.
That was the last message I got, but before I could finally shut it off. Needless to say, I stayed off the internet a long while after that. Just today, I got back on, praying it would have all been blown over. Oh, how I was wrong. I logged into my email only to find it spammed with emails from an account named I'll Show You Peace. Each one had the same message. I want to save you. I want to love you. I want to bring you peace. In all caps. But that wasn't even the worst of it. Each and every message had a candid photo of me, taken within the last week. I tried to involve the police, but they hadn't been much help. What do I do? The dark web is not good. Here is my story. I'm currently a college student. All of my friends were talking about the dark web. I decided it was about time I check it out. So my friend came over to my dorm and he set me up with the Tor browser and gave me some cool links to places I should check out. I decided after checking them out, I wanted to dig deeper. I came across a site called Bloody Murder. It was a forum where people would post stories about their killings. One guy with the username Red Devil was telling people about his recent crime. He kidnapped a girl on the way to school and locked her in his basement. He abused her 2 times a day and eventually stabbed her to death, cut open her body, and spread the different parts around different mountain ranges. He posted pictures of her held captive, being killed and cut open. It was disgusting. So I commented that, "Bad mistake." He replied,
"Who the hell are you? How did you find my site?"
I replied, "It doesn't matter how. I'm calling the cops and I hope you get arrested." A video of me appeared on the screen, live.
"You do that, and I will kill you. Get off this site and never come back."
He told me to change settings so I couldn't find the site ever again. At this point, I didn't care because I didn't want to find it again. After this, I quit the Tor browser and I didn't go back on. I told my friends about the site and they tried finding it, but when they came close, they just got an alert saying the server won't respond. Nothing happened for the next couple of days, until today. I got a text from unknown. It said,
"I thought I told you to stay off the site."
I replied back, "Who are you? I haven't done anything." He replied,
"You don't get to know who I am. I saw attempts from your IP address to access the site."
I replied back, "That wasn't me." He replied,
"Don't screw with me. I know what college you go to, dorm room 15, and your name is Ren. See you soon, pal."
Shit. I'm typing this now, waiting for him to arrive. I called the cops and they cloned my cell and my laptop so I could keep it. To be safe, they told me to reformat my computer and restore my phone. My phone erased with no hassle, but for some reason, something is blocking my reformat attempt on my computer, and it won't erase. I think he could be interfering with the program. I got a Snapchat from the Red Devil. He took a picture of the entry gates to my college. He's here. I called my friend, and he told me to come to his dorm. I shut my laptop and went to his room, locking the door first. I got another Snapchat, a picture of the dorm building. He could get inside any second, and I have 3 floors to get up. I got to his dorm and we shut and locked the door. I got another snap, a picture of the dorm to my room. I called the cops again, and I'm waiting for them now. My computer was tampered. Let me explain. So I got to my friend's dorm, and I received another snap from the dark web guy showing a picture of my dorm room. The cops were 3 minutes away, and I heard sirens. I received another snap, a picture of my computer, and big white words, "Big mistake." I used a program to turn on my computer's camera, and all I saw was the police in my room, so I went back. They told me that the guy was halfway out the window, but he escaped before they could grab him. He ran into a black car with no plates and drove off. They never found him. They said they would keep an eye on the place all night. I thanked them and shut, locked, and barricaded the doors. I switched on my computer and heard the startup sign, but I didn't see an Apple logo. Instead, I saw a program of a skull with a snake going through its eyes. The desktop was different. There were no apps except for something called Livestream. I didn't want to open it, so I didn't. I used the file browser, but found nothing else wrong. But there was no way in hell I was still using it. So I shut the top of it and stuck it under my desk. The next day was uneventful until that night. I got home and the computer was sitting open on the desk. Had he come back, or had someone else come in? I opened it, and the live streaming app was open. It looked like a live feed of some girl sitting at her computer, unaware that her webcam was being hacked. The count said 600 people were watching it. It had the same UI as Periscope, As the girl was singing along to Rebel by The Unknown, some guy in a hockey mask and a knife was waiting behind her, tapping the machete softly in his hands. In the bottom right-hand corner, the number was increasing, and people were sending thousands of hearts. What the hell? Are these people actually crazy? I got a text from a few friends saying, "What the hell is this? Why did you send us this link?" I looked back at the app and the girl started screaming. This guy had started stabbing her with the machete, killing her. More hearts. Eventually, he threw the knife into both of her eyes and then into her neck. He then made his way down, cutting off her fingers, attempting to cut her head off. Thousands of more hearts. I pressed Command Q to close the app, but I got the same stupid alert. Error. Computer not responding. The girl was completely covered in blood, obviously dead. Fingers and toes separated from her body. The guy looked at the camera and started cheering. Other people commented, "Yes, this was awesome," and more stuff like "great killing." He turned the camera to face her body. It's at this point I wanted to throw up. You could hardly recognize the body anymore. The screen went black and it read "Signal lost." But then another message appeared.
Thanks for joining us, Ren.
My phone blew up with more texts. "You're sick. Why did you send me that stream?" I started a group with everyone. "Please know that my phone was hacked and the police are working on finding him." They all replied in confusion as to what exactly has been happening. I called the cops and they discovered the username of the leader, the captain, his accomplice, site admin, and their 4 friends. They tracked down the IP of the captain because he had disabled his IP blocker when he hacked into my phone, and after arresting him, he led them to the others, and they were all arrested. I haven't heard anything else about this case, and I hope I never have to. Although, today, I did get a text from an unknown number.
Revenge is a dish best served alive.
This story happened to me when I was 14 years old. I'm 22 now. Back then, the dark web was a big thing at my school. Everyone talked about it. Drugs, hitman, and illegal porn. I eventually decided to check it out for myself to see what the huge deal was. When I got home, I immediately went onto my laptop and downloaded the Tor browser. I was then directed to a wiki page. This is what takes you to the dark web, so I clicked on it. Nothing too interesting going on. Just some stuff like the Silk Road and Hitman. Then, I stumbled across this website. It was called Hell's Bitches. When I clicked on it, I was taken to a video. The video's thumbnail had some kind of basement that was only lit up by a light bulb dangling from the ceiling, with some old wooden chair under it. I clicked play, and what happened next will probably stay with me for the rest of my life. The video began with a figure dressed in all black, with a ski mask dragging a bound, naked woman with duct tape on her mouth into the scene and tying her up to the chair. The woman looked like she was in her early 20s. She was very voluptuous, wavy blonde hair, and bright blue eyes that were extremely bloodshot, as if she had been crying a lot. She was covered in bruises and scratch marks from head to toe. It was as if she had been here for a long time. The man then disappeared from camera's view for a few seconds before coming back with a table containing old, rusty surgical tools. I wanted to click off so badly, but I sat there frozen like a statue. The masked man stood beside her with a knife in his hand, and the woman's crying was muffled by the duct tape. The man then slowly turned and looked at the camera. It was almost as if he was looking right at me. Just then, a chat box appeared. A guy with the username XXXSatan1854 typed,
"Rip out her toenails."
The man slowly nodded his head and made his way over to the surgical table. The woman's bloodshot eyes widened in horror as the man grabbed a pair of pliers. I finally came out of my frozen state of mind and was frantically clicking the X button as the woman's muffled screams got louder, and I could hear the faint sound of flesh violently ripping as the nails departed from their beds. Suddenly, another message popped up from the same person. "Leaving so soon? The show has barely started." I sat there, frozen with fear, debating on whether or not I should reply to this sick person. How the hell did he know what I was doing? Finally, I responded, and that was the worst mistake I've ever made. "You sick people. You better let her go or I'm calling the police." It went silent for a few moments aside from the woman wailing from the pain that was just inflicted on her. The man just stood there and stared at the camera with a blank expression. Then, another message popped up from the same person.
"I don't think that would be a good idea, Robert."
I typed back asking how he knew my name.
"I have all your info. You're 14 years old. You live at 23 Dairy Lane."
I froze again. Then a picture popped up in the chat box. It was a screenshot of me. This guy knows where I live and who I am. I held down the power button in hopes of restarting the computer, but nothing worked.
"That isn't going to work, Robert."
Finally, I took the batteries out of my laptop and it finally shut down. I still haven't used it to this day. A piece of advice: never go on the dark web. There are way too many weirdos on there who will hunt you down. Always enter the dark web at your own risk. There's always something that can get the jump on you. For example, I was browsing the dark web late at night when I came across this post for storytellers and heavy creepypasta readers. I like reading, so in my own curiosity I ventured forth into what seemed to be something I would rather enjoy. I was wrong. Dead wrong. The website contained a few boxes with descriptions in each and a list of stories written by others. The boxes had basic information regarding that the stories are for entertainment purposes only, and that they should regard as fiction. I scrolled through to find an intriguing title. When I found one called The Note, I began reading the creepypasta, and it didn't seem half bad. It began reading things like, there was a nightgown in the middle of the road, and I heard creaking. I found this especially strange because I had these exact same experiences in the same week. I thought nothing of it and kept reading. I began to feel uncomfortable as every event that happened in the story was basically ticking off the past 5 days of my life. I got to a point where it was talking about the day I was in, but what really got my attention was the line, "I could see something outside." And at that moment, I heard branches cracking outside. I jolted my head to my window and quickly closed my curtains. I'm just paranoid, I kept telling myself. It's okay. I read further and the character in the story did the same thing. It's as if someone was replacing text as this was all happening. I read on. More sounds came from outside, until I heard knocking on my door. My eyes widened as I could see what was coming next. The loud knocks came for a few seconds, then stopped. At this point, I could care less about the website, so I turned off my computer and turned out the lights as I slid under my bed with my trusty baseball bat ready. I waited for what seemed like hours, but nothing came. Eventually, I drifted off to sleep as I had had a long day and was extremely tired. As I slowly came to, I saw my room was dimly lit from the little sunlight coming through the seams of the curtains. I crawled out from under the blankets, feeling awful and having very little memory of the night before. I went to make my cup of coffee and noticed nothing was out of place to where it normally is. I just had a nightmare, I thought to myself. I came back to my desk as I turned on the machine to find a boot up message from what looked like a piece of paper. It had much resemblance for that of a note to self, and there was a great deal of text, so I began reading it cautiously, wondering, if this is important, why would I put this in a command prompt? I read through it, but shortly after beginning I noticed it was trying to tell me something. Remember, fight back. Don't let it take you too. Then it hit me. I began to remember what had happened. I quickly opened my curtains and made a thorough scan of my garden and front porch. There wasn't a soul in sight, so I continued reading, and it started to take shape of the creepypasta I had read that night before. I should recall every bit of text, but I saw a line of text that horrified me. He had what appeared to be a large butcher knife in his hand. I could not make out the figure, or what gender it was, but I knew one thing. If I move or make any sound, I'm dead. I could only imagine what happened after, as I ripped out the power cord and threw the cinder block outside. I ran through the entire house to make sure everything was locked tight. Not 5 minutes had passed and I put my shoes on to go destroy the devil of a machine. I ran outside right where I threw it to find nothing. It wasn't there. I was shocked. Caught up in the moment, I ran inside and called the police. They arrived and didn't find a single trace of anyone getting in. I told them how in just a few minutes in broad daylight, someone or something managed to grab my computer and take off with it, or worse. Once they left, I went to buy a new laptop and a firearm. I haven't seen anything suspicious or heard anything, but I can never forget what happened that night. To think someone could be outside my window, staring at me intently. I haven't visited that godforsaken place since, and never will. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I appreciate it a lot. And also, big thanks to my patrons, and if you want to support me, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. And if you want to hear more scary stories in the future,